Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today we are back to working over here on the metal planer, and I mentioned several times that before we can start working on this stoker engine and doing the job down there, I need to make a tool holder, a custom tool holder, to hold some of these little tool bits that I've got made by Apex Tool Company. These are little kind of old school inserts, for lack of a better term, that you can mount on a cutter and be able to reach down and do some neat jobs. And I had a viewer that sent me a bunch of these little tool bits a while back, but I don't have a tool holder to really hold this. And so today's job is we're going to make one. And basically, I do have a tool holder made by the OK Tool Company that takes a similar style insert, whatever you want to call it, tool bit. This is for a larger tool, though, than the ones that I'm going to be making this for. But we're going to be, maybe using some inspiration off of these to make these the one I've got to make. So without further ado, let's get in here and see if we can get started on this and get this job knocked out. So here's the challenge that I'm working with. We got to get down here and machine these little slides down the bottom where the crossheads go back and forth. These were badly pitted. We tried building them up with some material. I don't know that we had really good success with that, but the bottom line is we need to get this stuff machined out. I'm probably just going to make it a little bit oversized, as it's just going to be a Babbitt piece sliding back and forth in there, and we can make it whatever size it needs to be. The size is not critical. We will mold it to fit for all intent purposes. But to do that, I got to have a tool that will reach down deep into this. And that's been the challenge with this whole project so far. We've tried machining this in several different ways. And because of the depth to get down into this area, it has proven to be real challenging. We tried doing it on a milling machine with some really long end mills. And even like 1.25" diameter end mills, they were flexing too much, and we just couldn't get a good surface down in here. We've tried on a metal shaper. The metal shaper, Adam Booth actually tried that, and he was not able to do it on the shaper. I think he could have done it on the shaper if he had the right tool, like we're going to be making, but he didn't, and he didn't go to the effort to do that. And I don't blame him. It's a lot of work. So I think we can do it here on the metal planer. I'm hoping we can do it on here on the metal planer. But we gotta make this tool that'll reach down in here. Now these are kind of the little inserts that we're going to be using, and they've kind of got a little serration on the back that fits up in there, and basically you just kind of clamp it in place, and these can come in here and you can use them. And there's different styles and different shapes. I've got a whole bunch of different ones of these bits, different profiles on them that I think will be useful for different applications. You can just change them out. So, let me show you. This is the tool holder that I've got for a larger one made by the OK Tool Company. It takes a similar serrated edge with some much bigger insert. I've got some more inserts like this as well, but you can see the problem. I mean, you mount this up here and it's way too short. We really can't use this, so we're going to be making a custom tool that's probably longer than what is practical, but yeah, for this job, that's what we're going to have is that long cutter that'll reach down in there. And I basically have this kind of, where we maybe have a 1/2 inch clearance up underneath the cross piece here. Probably not even that much when you get over in this area, 3/8 of an inch. So it's pretty much as far down as it can go. To have a tool cutter or tool bit that'll fit in here, that'll reach all the way down the bottom. I mean, you're looking at probably about 20 inches long is what it needs to be. And I've got a piece of stock that we're going to be doing that from, that we're going to make, and to custom fit these inserts, which I really don't have a tool holder to fit anyway. And this, I think, will be a useful tool that we'll be able to use in lots of stuff on the planer going down the road. So let's come up with a game plan and get to machining something. So as far as this tool is concerned, I'm going to make it out of this piece of stock right here. This is some 1.25" by 2 rectangular stock, and I've got plenty of it, and I think that will be stout enough. Hopefully we won't get enough flex in here. We'll probably have to make some light cuts with it instead of really gouging out, which I need to do anyway on this job, so not a problem. But I think the first thing I'm going to do is just cut me off a piece We got a little bit more here than what we need, and have a little bit extra sticking up. It's going to be sticking out of the bottom a little bit more, but I wanted to clear pretty much up above this. So, somewhere right along in there, we're going to cut this off, and that will become a piece of stock that we work with to make this cutter. And I don't really have a blueprint of this, but I kind of got in my mind an idea of what I want to do, and we're just going to build it. I mean, I know that aggravates a lot of people because I don't always draw things out, but I can see in my head very clearly what I want to do, and we're just going to build it. So let's do it. All right, I got my piece of stock cut to length here, and we are pretty much kind of ready to go with it. Before I get too deep in this, I kind of want to show you, these are the two cutters I've got here that are made by the OK Tool Company. They're very similar in design. The only real big difference between them is the hold down. They got a little bit different style hold down on them. We're going to be kind of doing something very similar to this one, where we just have a little top clamp that clamps down on there. And if you look down here, we have that serration in the bottom that matches the serration on our cutters. And even though these tools are made by the OK Tool Company, these cutters are made by the Apex Tool Company. Both of them were in the same town, and while they were different companies and had different products, they had similar products. And interestingly, the cutters would kind of go between the two. I don't know if there was any relationship between the companies or not, but I do have the information on this serration on the bottom, thanks to a viewer that had, I think he was one that sent me these cutters, but he had some more of them, and he looked at these under his optical comparator. And basically, it's a 60-degree included angle. Same cutter we used to make a spline with recently, and they're 60 thousandths of an inch apart. And so that kind of gives me the information I need to know to make that bed down here, that serration will go in there. And that kind of keeps that tool from twisting when in use. One thing to note is that there is a slight up angle. I need to measure that. It's only a degree or two that we're probably going to have to put into our bed down here on these to kind of keep that same thing going. So my idea here is that we've got this stock. Again, it's a little bit wide. I'm going to narrow it down to where it's just wide enough for that tool cutter, and we're just going to cut some material off the side up to about right in here, and that'll give us enough area there to mount that to. And I'm going to just kind of mill a little bit deeper slot in the back where I have a tool holder that can kind of go down into a slot to capture it, to keep it from twisting, and it'll just screw in place right there and clamp down onto the top. Similar to this one, a little bit different but similar. Same basic principle of what we want to do there. So I think the first thing I want to do is head over to the milling machine and narrow up the sides on this. I want to say that was about 3/4, 7/8 of an inch wide, somewhere along in there, depending on the cutter. And anyway, we'll take a little bit of material off of it, narrow it up a little bit, and then we'll work on probably cutting that slot back there and then getting that bed angle in it. So let's head over to the milling machine and do some milling. I'm just going to drop this down and lock my table down right there. That'll kind of zero out the height. And I want to go down 1/4 of an inch on each side, and basically to that line. That line is not a critical measurement at all. So I'm just going to zero out my digital readout particularly on the Z-axis. Let's get the machine going here. Going 250 on the depth. We'll just do about 50 thousandths at a time here. Line. There we go. And we just cut across. We'll go to 100 thousandths. Another 50, that'll make it 150. Another 50, that'll take us to 200 thousandths total depth. more pass, more 50 thousandths. I'll take us to 250 total, which is 1/4 of an inch. So let me dial that in. 250 thousandths. All right, we're gonna take that out, flip it over, do the same thing on the other side. So let's do that. I think I'll take it over to my grinder and just deburr that edge real quick while I have it out. All right, got that done. We flipped it over, and I just butted this up against the jaws of the vise there to kind of zero that out. And we're going to do the same things. This will be 250, so another 1/4 of an inch depth, last pass. All right, we got that side notched out. So you can kind of see where we're headed here. We got this, our inserts will be kind of bolted on to the bottom down here. And next step is I need to kind of work on notching this out over here. So I've gone in, this has got about a 5-degree back angle in it. So I've got a 5-degree standard here to kind of draw that. I just kind of sketched that in there. Just want to clean that up on the top so that we have 5 degrees going backwards. And then I'm going to cut a notch about 3/4 of an inch wide and about a 1/2 inch deep. And that is where my little piece is going to fit down into that my clamp will be on. And this will kind of register it to keep it from twisting back here in the back. And it'll clamp on the top of the cutter up here on the top, which will be bedded in kind of like that right there. So back to the mill machine. We're going to set up for that 5-degree cut. Again, I'll use my a little piece here to get me set up to where we'll be at that angle. That's just a standard I've got, and let's get that angle in there, and then we'll also cut in the notch. So I've got my 5-degree angle standard. I'm just going to start by putting that down in the vise. That will become my template to help get my angle set right. We're going to set this down on that, and let me get that up kind of as close to the jaw of the vise as I can. There we go. All right, and then we'll just clamp that in place. I will put a little jack back here underneath the back just to kind of give me some support on this back side. And now, this is at the angle, but this will be flat. I can mill flat across that and basically get what I want there. So get that angle put in. So we'll come in with the cutter and do that. Well, I somehow missed the action there of cutting this slot, but you can kind of see the finished product here. I got a little photograph of it where we cut across there, basically cut flat, but that's going to be the 5-degree angle because of the way we have the work in the vise. So we'll move on. All right. I've got a 3/4 inch end mill in there now, and I should be zeroed out pretty well. Yeah, we're hitting the back side of that. And I think what I'm going to do is go down 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to zero out my depth here. I think we'll do 50 thousandths at a time. See how that cuts. All right, that's about a 1/2 inch. I do need to kind of bring that front up. I'm just going to mill it in a little bit. Then we get up about to that line. We got our notch made there. That again will be for our cap piece, so we'll hold the top down. I'm about ready to start milling in the serrations down here in the bottom of this that the cutter will fit on. Again, I had talked about before, this is a 60-degree included angle, 30 degrees on each side. And the tops of them should be 60 thousandths apart. Now I did some math here, calculated the depth based on that, and it should be 52 thousandths deep. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna come in here, touch off on there. I'm gonna go basically take my cutter off the edge. We're gonna feed down 52 thousandths, and then we'll feed across, move the table in 60 thousandths, feed across, 60 thousandths, feed across, and just cut each one of those serrations. This is the same cutter, same setup I was cutting some splines with before. I didn't even have to change the tooling out. Still set up from the last job, which is nice. That doesn't happen very often. And yeah, the last job I did, I used the universal head. I could very well have done this with a horizontal milling cutter. There's nothing to really prevent me from doing it that way. But like I said, I'm already set up because this is how I ran my last job. I'm just not, there's no reason to change it. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's get in here and get her done. All right, we're just touching right there. Come on, go off the cutter. I want to kind of get my cutter more or less just right there on the edge. I'm going to come out. All right, I need to zero out my Z-axis and raise it up 52 thousandths. And I've moved my scale around here to 0 on the knee, and again, 52 thousandths to come to a sharp point on the top. I think I'm just gonna do 50 because I really want that top to be just a little bit blunt. So I'm just gonna raise this up 50 thousandths right there. I'm gonna lock my table down, and that should be our depth. While I'm in here, I'm also going ahead and zeroed out the in and out on my table. And we're going to be feeding that 60 thousandths per pass, so I'll just be reading it right off the dial there for each pass. All right, I think we're ready to make our first cut. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. I'm going to put a little cutting oil on my cutter, and we'll just feed in. This first pass is going to be just kind of barely touching on the edge. But I got to start somewhere, so we're going to do this one here. It's not going to be a full depth pass, but it is just kind of cutting a little bit off the edge there. Go all the way in, and we are there. Come back out. Now I'm going to dial in the 60 thousandths. Move the table in. That's 20. 40, 60 right there. Lock the table down. Give another little dab of oil there. And this will be more of a full depth, full cut. All right, go out. We move in another 60. Move that last little bit real carefully, 60 thousandths. And here we go on another pellet cut. We're just going to continue doing this all the way across, cutting each tooth one pass at a time. And I think this is going to be my last pass here. And it's probably a good thing because I'm running out of clearance right there on the back side, but I think we're fine. I think I'll take one more pass just for good measure. I don't think I'm quite off that side yet, and I think I got just enough room to take one more pass, so we're just going to go ahead and do it. Yeah, I got just enough clearance from that back side. I wouldn't be able to take one more tooth, but we're fine with this one. I'm not sure that I'm cutting anything, but we'll just make sure we got it. And with that, our serrations are cut. There we go. Our serrations are in there. That looks real good. Now, one thing I've noticed looking at the other sample pieces is that the tops of the ones over there look kind of flat. So I'm just going to take a file and just kind of just knock the tops off of those just a little bit. Not a lot, but they're not real sharp. And if you look at this, what this mates to, that doesn't look like it goes to a real sharp point down there in the bottom. But let's see here. Oh yeah, that is a perfect fit. And when that gets clamped down in place, that is not going to be allowing that to rock back and forth, which is what we're after. We don't want this rocking in here. And I think that's going to suit it just fine. I need to make sure I got those chips cleaned out really good on each one of them, but I think we're good to go. All right, serration's done. Just taking another look here where we're at. Again, I'm real happy with how the serrations turned out there, and that's going to take those cutters just perfectly. Up next, I need to fabricate a clamp to clamp onto this. That'll be our next step, and I think once that's done, this will be ready to go to work. So let's figure out what we got to do to make our clamp. So up next, I need to come up with my clamp that's going to clamp this in place. And breaking my tradition here, I guess, I did actually sketch this out. So I've got a little drawing here. Basically, it's just going to kind of fit down in the slot and wrap over the top here and clamp down. There'll be a socket cap screw that we'll put down through the center that will bolt down through there. So that's kind of what I'm after. I've got a piece of stock here that we're going to cut this out of. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and get this cut to length, and we will start machining it out over on the milling machine. So let's get started on that. All right, step one here is I want to mill the top of this square with the sides. Now, it's going to be square on the sides because of the jaws, but I can tell that this face that I'm doing is not square, so I'm going to use a machinist square to just square my blank up here, and then we'll just tighten the vise up on that. So I'll just pull that up, and that should make the top of that, when we mill it, square with the sides, at least square enough for what we're doing here. So, and I got an end mill in the mill. I think we can use that to do this. All right. So we'll just come in here like such, and I'm going to have to raise it up just a little bit. And we'll just skim along there and square that up and get it nice and flat. All right, that's got that side squared up. All right, so next step is this needs to be, it's gonna kind of fit down in there right there. We're gonna notch this front out for that little clamp to go into, but it's a little bit tall right now. This stock is 1.5 inches, and I want it to go to inch in at 1.3 inches. So we need to take about 200 thousandths off the top. And I'm gonna go ahead and put this in here now. Shouldn't have to worry about, everything should be square now. This side's gonna be parallel to the other side, which is a stock side. So shouldn't have to use the square on this one. If I want to, I can just check it, but I need to check it on this back side because that is the side that we machined. And actually I can't get my piece in there, but I'm trusting that it's square. And we need to basically take 200 thousandths off the top. So let me lower the table down. Make sure I got my end mill going the correct way. This measurement isn't critical. It just needs to be about 200 thousandths taken off. I'll zero out my digital readout there. And we'll just do 200 thousandths. I'll do about 25 at a time. And this should be my last pass right here. Reading 200 thousandths on the digital readout. All right, so I've kind of got scratched in here, this little area on the front. That's got to be removed. Basically, I got this upside down, so this will be the bottom, this will be the top down here, this in there, and this is the part that's going to fit into that slot. Basically, I want the top to be about a 1/2 inch thick. This is about 800 thousandths deep. Those measurements are not that critical. The critical one is going to be the thickness in this direction, and it needs to be, what is that, 0.794 is the actual size. It probably needs to be about 1 thou or 2 under that, just to have a little bit of clearance where they'll just drop down in there. So I think we're just gonna go in here and start nibbling that out a little bit at a time. So when we come in here, we'll start by touching off on the bottom, or the top rather. Zero out my DRO there. I'm going to come just a little short, or a little bit thick, and we'll just start milling down. 25 thou per pass seems to be pretty good, so that's what we're going to go with. I'm going to lock my table in this direction, side to side. And we're just going to come in and out on it. All right, we're getting down here close to the bottom. Got about 100 thousandths more to go. More pass after this one, and it should be to depth. There we go. All right, so let me stop there. Get an idea of how thick we are here, and that's, I can tell it's not straight all the way down, but we've got a good 20-25 thousandths to come out of there. I'm just gonna bring my table in, maybe just a couple here. That's getting down better. I need about another 10 thousandths or so. All right, that should fit. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it out now, go over there and test fit it. So our little clamp piece fits right down in there just like we want, and we put our cutter in here. Yeah, I think that's gonna be just right. So up next, well, we probably need to, I think what I'm gonna do is just take this over to the belt sander. I'm gonna do a little, I wanna put a little bit of a radius on this front edge, or maybe a chamfer, I'm not sure, just kind of blend that around, and probably just touch up the sides of this where I've got that material on there, just kind of polish it up. It doesn't really matter, but make it look a little bit nicer. And then we'll get our hole drilled through here and have her ready to try out. So I think that's working good. Well, guys, I did a little blending over there on the belt sander, and I think it looks a little bit nicer. Basically still does the exact same thing. But I think what I want to do now is get my hole through here, figure out what size cap screw we want to put in there, and get that done. And from there, I think we'll have it pretty well done. So let's figure out what cap screw I want to use. I think we'll use a 5/16 inch cap screw, and go ahead and get that where it's countersunk in there. Will be kind of down below the surface on the top, and that should give us plenty of thread engagement down there to hold that in place. All right, I'm gonna go back to the milling machine. I'm gonna find the center of the cap here. We'll get that drilled out, and then we'll get a hole down the bottom as well. So this needs to be probably a size over 5/16 to get the clearance through this one, and we'll counterbore that for the head to go down the top, and then we'll get the hole drilled in the bottom here as well. So let's get that going. I need to find the center of this. I'm just going to use a Sharpie here to just kind of put a little marking in there, and what we'll do is we'll just bisect it across the corners here, and I'll scribe me a X marks the spot, and then we'll drill it out. All right, I'm gonna go to the milling machine, and we'll get a hole drilled through there. And we're gonna get set up over here. I'm gonna start by putting a parallel up underneath the bottom of this, and I'm just gonna drop my part in here and clamp it down. Because we're gonna be drilling through that, once I get this clamped down, I'm gonna actually remove the parallel so we can drill through the bottom of that, and it should be everything be going straight down. I didn't show it, but I did take my optical center punch and just kind of center punch the center of that where I have a nice little indentation to work off of. I'm gonna put a center drill in here that we're gonna use as a spotting drill to just kind of get that center spotted. And I'm just gonna kind of use this to eyeball and get on that spot. Yep. All right, I got me a spot there to get going on. I'll probably have to drop my table down a little bit to get my drill bit in there. I've got a 21/64 drill bit here that we're going to be drilling this, which is one size above the size of the screw that we're going to be using. I'm going to use a little dab of anchor lube here on my drill just to kind of give me a little bit of lube while we're going. And let's drill that through. There we go. Hole all the way through. Before I flip this over, I think I'm going to take a counter bore and just slightly deburr that bottom while we got it lined up here. There we go, that's all we need. Here, I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to put my little parallel back up under the bottom. We'll just chuck it in there from this side. And this is the counter bore we'll use. It'll go down, and actually the bottom part's just going to go straight down that same hole, but we'll cut out a square bottom hole for that cap screw to go down into. I'm going to have to lower my table down a little bit more to fit this in. There we go, and I'll just line up my table where that counter bore just fits right down in there, like such. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it, getting it centered up good. A little bit of anchor lube just for good luck there. Just seeing if that should be plenty deep enough. All right. Pull that out, and now our screw goes down in there and is recessed in the top, just like we want it. All right, let's now get the part ready to drill and tap where this is going to fit into. All right, I've got my clamp kind of positioned on here, centered up where I want it at, and I'm just going to take my transfer punches. I'm going to find my 21/64. Now this transfer punch is the same size as that hole that we got drilled down through there, so when I punch this, that should be right there in the center of that hole. Just make sure I got the right one, yeah. Next size up won't fit, so we'll just take that, center punch it, and then we can go drill that hole, and it should line up just right. There we go. Back over at the milling machine, I'm going to put my center drill back in here, and we're going to use this again as a spotting drill just to kind of spot that center, and then we'll drill it out. So I'm just going to again line this up, kind of eyeball it where it needs to go. I can see my center drill down there in the bottom, or a center punch rather. I'm just going to spot it. All right, go get the drill bit, and we'll drill that hole out. All right, we're going to be drilling this with a letter F drill bit, which is the size for a 5/16 inch coarse thread. I'm going to remove the parallel I had up underneath that was resting on, and we'll go ahead and again put a little dab of anchor lube in there. We'll drill that all the way through. There we go, all the way through. Right, before we tap it, I think I'll take my counter bore or countersink here, and just I barely fit down in there. I just want to put a little bit of a chamfer in there to get that started. And then we'll pull that out. I'm going to put in my tap follower. This is just a spring-loaded pointer that will help keep that tap aligned. I'm just going to tap this by hand, and let me lower my table down. Now the way the spring-loaded tap follower works is we'll just lower that down. There's a little center in the top of the tap, and that just keeps everything in nice alignment. Again, we'll put some anchor lube in there, and away we go tapping. I go about a turn and I break that chip. Probably another turn or two and we'll be, I think we're bottomed out right there. All right, I'm just going to pull my tap follower out and we'll unscrew her. All right, I think we are ready to try this out. I just went over to my Scotch-Brite wheel and kind of just eased up all these edges. I did kind of put a little bit of a radius on that back just so that it wasn't so sharp. I also kind of relieved this, put a little back angle on that and just kind of radiused out the bottom, just making things a little bit softer to the touch and kind of beveled the edges on this so things weren't real sharp. I also kind of rounded these corners over. Again, just softening things up a little bit. And I think we're ready to go. So we'll put our cutter in here, put our clamp on top, got our screw to tighten it all down with. And we'll clamp that down pretty good and tight. And I think we've got this ready to go. Tell you what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to loosen that up. I'm going to push that in as far as it'll go. Let's see. Loosen that up. There we go. Push that cutter up all the way there where it really can't work its way back in. It's bottomed out now. And voila, we have a tool holder ready to go over on the metal planer. And that should be plenty strong enough to do that even at that long depth that we got. Let's go put it on the machine and just see what it looks like. Let's see if we can get it kind of drop down from the top here. And I'm going to have to make some adjustments to everything before I can actually start using this tool. But for right now, I just want to kind of put it in here and kind of mock it up. And I'm going to have to even tighten those up, but I just want to kind of take a look at it here. But that, I think, is going to work. Raise that up just a little bit. Yeah. I think we got a winner. Time will tell. We got to get this thing set up to actually work and use it, but I think this is going to work just fine. I'm going to have to, got a real small area where we're going to come out of that cut and have to stop and reverse back. But I think we can do it, and I think this is going to work. This will reach down in there and get the job done, hopefully so. All right, I think we got it. I think this cutter, I think this tool holder rather is going to work. Well, there we go, guys. One new tool holder for an Apex type tool bit. I've got a pretty good collection of these, again, that a viewer sent in to me that I can use on this machine. And now that I've got a tool holder to use them with, this is going to be a really, really handy item, I think, for metal planing work. Like I said, I got a nice selection of these different tools and different profiles and haven't had a way to use them until now. I'm going to be honest with you. This whole project right here, making this tool holder, It's really been something I'm kind of dreaded. I don't know why. I've been, kind of thinking about it for about the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so. I can't remember how long, and kind of planning in my mind how to do it. And just, I guess, the uncertainty of not knowing exactly how it was all going to go together. I had an idea of what I wanted to build, but a lot of it kind of evolved as I built it, which is kind of an unusual way of doing things, I think, for a lot of people, but a lot of times that is how I kind of do things. I can see what I want, but you just kind of have to start doing it and make it work. And that's kind of what I did with this. And I kind of dreaded it, but at the end of the day, it wasn't that bad of a project to get done. And now that it's done, again, I think I got a really useful tool. Guys, with that, that's going to be a wrap on this video, on this episode. We'll be coming back hopefully here very soon and actually putting this tool holder to work on this machine, on this stoker engine. And now the first of the year has come along, 2025 has kicked off. This is kind of at the top of my list to get this stoker engine knocked out. I got a lot of other projects that we'll be kind of working on simultaneously. That's kind of the way I roll. I try to kind of have multiple projects always going on at the same time, but this one's going to be kind of my main project to be working on to get knocked out, because I got to get this off the list. So with that, guys, that's going to be a wrap. As always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments are always greatly appreciated. Hit that bell icon up there to get notifications when new videos are posted. Big, huge thank you to those who have already subscribed, as well as those who support the site financially through Patreon, PayPal. It really helps me out and allows me to take the time to shoot these videos and do all the editing and everything else that goes along with it to bring this content to you guys. And with that, we are going to sign off. We'll catch you on the next video again. As always, thanks for watching.